What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live show from the office above the garage here at the Go Rope Garage. And I apologize in advance if you hear the chainsaw. It is dark enough now. Maybe the neighbor has finally quit making all that racket. So, exactly. Anything 5, 6. I absolutely just tweaked my back picking up a washer of all things. Just a little washer. And then I continued to work, and then I went out and blew leaves and just really drove it home of like wanting to really make my back just absolutely scream. But I got the axle housing, the Ford 9-inch axle housing installed. Still waiting on the guts for the thing. I don't know when they're supposed to show up. So waiting on the third member, waiting on the axles, waiting on the brake assembly, the axle housing, and the cowl tracks are installed. One slight issue, though, I've got to put new shock mounts up on the crossbar, but I did get the lower shock mounts on the axle housing welded on. They're ready to go. So those will be here probably Saturday. And we'll get those mounted up, get the QA1 double adjustable mounted up on the rears. And yeah, literally I got back earlier this week from Texas to go and see Grandpa. He's doing good. Had a COVID scare because my aunt tested positive on Monday. Luckily, I told all my family, I was like, I'm not hugging any of you guys. Sorry, love you guys, I'm not hugging anybody. I tested on Tuesday and tested negative, so I'm going to go get a rapid test tomorrow. Make sure that I don't have it. I'm feeling all right, though. Got a little sinus stuff going on, but that often happens whenever you drive across like 5 or 6 states. Awesome, Atomic. I'm glad that you brought that up. I will pimp my shirts. Got about 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks left to get the Rocky Mountain Race Week shirt. And I've kind of got the final design out there. I like it. It's kind of turned out pretty dope. Why is this not working? Hold on. Let me fix this. We do this. You guys like that black screen? There we go. And then we can go burp. And then I take this thing down to here. There we go. So kind of got the final design out. And big shout out to all of our sponsors here on the channel for allowing us to use their logos on the shirt also. So got those things plopped up in there. The only thing that might change is the font. Not real sure about that, but it'll be pretty straightforward. Just the logo on the front and the stuff on the back. Yeah, I was going to get Joe on tonight, but since I've been gone, I've been busy and not been able to reach out to him and get all that stuff set up. So I'll try and get Joe on next week. Well, that's what I like to hear, Metal Fab and Gearhead. Says, anyone else accidentally find this channel then become addicted and binge watch? Binge watch away. Jim White Guy's lawn rolled today. Couldn't get my legs to work when I got off the tractor. Been there before. Anyone run decap truck injectors? Yeah, there's going to be a few people in here that's ran decapped injectors, rock roll. And personally, I'm not a fan of decapped injectors. They tend to have flow consistency issues. Some people don't have issues with them. Some people do. What up, Vince? Good to see you, brother. There you go. Brandon's got set. Hard to beat for the money. You know. We can probably try and do another drawing since it didn't work last time. We'll see if it works this time. See if Streamlabs is playing nice. Allows us to actually give something away. Brandon did have them flow tested. Who'd you end up having them flow tested? Who did the flow testing for you, Brandon? Bear says, I just did put a set of decaps out on my rig for, pull a set for some FICs. Trying to see how much better it runs with good data. Didn't have them flowed, made my own flow tester. I'd be interested to see if it's better around idle. Did you have issues with being rich around idle with the decaps? Yeah, no worries, Tyler. You got time, brother. Have you done any draggy hits in the Shelby? No, Ultimatum, I need to. That's a good point. In fact, my compressor, air conditioning compressor died on the Shelby on the way back from Texas because I took it down to Texas. And it was, high side pressure was 500 PSI on that thing. I don't know how they got that high. That was the first time that I tried to turn it on, and it was cycling because it was triggering off the high side pressure switch, was shutting it down. So I finally got the pressure bled off, only to find out a couple of the pistons had blown the seals out. So I got to replace the compressor on the brand new Shelby. But I did have some fun with the second gen Dodge Viper and around St. Louis. And he was probably regretting it because I walked on him pretty hard. Thinking about adding a vacuum pump to the valve covers to create vacuum in my crankcase. Any advice or knowledge, or I have to adjust my tune after? Shouldn't, Luke. Is the Shelby? No, the Shelby's port injected. The Voodoo is. There's certain Coyotes that are direct injected. Trying to tune my CTSV with Solar Performance 9mm throttle body. Car's going into limp mode. Tyler, look at the, for one, look up your DTC, because it's going to be probably a throttle correlation. Then if you go over to your diagnostics tab, check it out there. There will be some parameters there that align with that DTC code for enabling that test. You might need to adjust those parameters, bump them up 10% at a time until it quits doing it. What up, James? Currently tuning the Silverado with the 6.0 cam headers, etc. Tuning with HP tuners. This thing has no primary O2 sensors. Well, that's no bueno. Just keep it open loop all the time. Trying to tune for new 60-pound injectors. Can't get to them responding to my changes. Idle is running 0.72. Soul Music. Try lowering the minimum injector pulse width. It's probably 0.7. Try dropping it down to 0.3. Talal, 2016 Silverado with the L83, 7875 turbo with pistons and rods. You've already got pistons, rods, and cams with a fuel system. How much do you think is max? With pistons and rods and a cam and the proper fuel system, I think that motor will handle 1200. Personally. What kind of booster are you running on? Just did heads, cam, intake, install, adjusted tune for changes for first start. Wideband showed 16.3, but VE was showing off 50% rich. No, Andy, double check your math. Sounds like your math's wonky somewhere. I see that this is still not working. Paul says, ever been accused of screwing up a tune only to pop the hood when you get called in to find out it's not a single coil was plugged in on an entire bank? Well, that's one way to do displacement on demand. Where's some signs that there's a vacuum leak? Obviously, high idle is your big one. Is it common to see one bank, I can't talk tonight, lean and one rich? Generally, no, because, but that being said, there can be some Soul Music, there can be some things that will create specifically a rich bank, such as having a bad coil or a bad spark plug or a bad spark plug wire. So basically, if you're not firing one cylinder, that bank will show up rich. As far as lean, though, that's, I would focus on the rich bank. That's probably the one that you're having issues with. Let's see here. Been map tuning my 11 5.3 Suburban, after last adjustments, the fuel pressure would drop after a few minutes of driving. Flashed the as found and haven't had a problem since. Any ideas? What's your mods, Les? It's very interesting. What up, Brandon? Yeah, you could have a intake or even exhaust gasket on one bank showing lean. Stock no cats. That's interesting then. Should not be having that issue. Is it on your high side fuel pressure or your low side fuel pressure? Robert, can you make a video for the Fiesta Turbo or the Ford EcoBoost? Yeah, I'll try and do some EcoBoost stuff. My father-in-law has a EcoBoost Mustang. Dude, DuckTales is... Scrooge McDuck's my hero. I love this show growing up. This is not working. Let's try this. Let's try this. Bear with me. I'm trying to figure out why our drawings aren't working. Let me add Streamlabs back as a moderator. Ugh. What a pain. Well, that didn't work. Uh, 15 Silverado, can that be tuned MAF only? Yeah, I've ran the truck on MAF only. You might have some wonky stuff. You really need to touch on the virtual volumetric efficiency tables on the 5th gens. But you don't have to be, you know, dialed completely, and it needs to be somewhat close. After you built your truck, you changed your trans. Why? 6L80 mod wouldn't be a better choice than the Turbo 400. Modding a 6L80 to handle over 1,000 horsepower is a lot more expensive than a Turbo 400. You can get a Turbo 400 that handles well over 1,000 horsepower for less than the parts for modding a 6L80. And, you know, and the truck is for racing. It doesn't get driven on the street. In fact, it's not even street legal right now. So, bank 2, pulling bank 2, bank 2. Hold on. Cancel. Clicking through windows. Rescue Rangers, tailspin. Ran super slow. Dropped 1 second everywhere, 8th mile. 960 foot, 201 at 78. Not bad. Stalling a higher stall. What tires were you running on super slow? Sure thing, Robert. Tried adjusting minimum pulse width, but it doesn't seem lowered. Well, you'll hit a limit on minimum pulse width. So at certain points, it just you can't go any lower on those. If you're still running rigid idle with the minimum pulse width dialed down, you might have to live with it. Your injectors are too big, generally, but is it going to work? I saw it pop up. There we go. Okay, we're giving away a coffee mug. The drawing is working. Everybody, get your tickets. On Ford, would you do a breakout hunters for MAF IAT and spray meth so it sees it? Yeah, Matthew, if you're running in MAF, a Ford with a MAF, you know, another weird thing where some Coyotes have a MAF, some don't, depending on the platform. You know, like the trucks I don't think have MAFs. I don't know if I don't even know if some of the Mustangs have mass airflow. A lot of those are volumetric efficiency based. They do the same thing, though. They go back and have that weird torque table. It's a torque table in some situations, and it's like a VE table in others. We'll touch on some of that stuff. But if your mass airflow and your IAT in the same one, you want to break out your IAT and spray in between the two. There you go. Soul Music, in case you didn't see, LS said, if you're on the 3rd gen, look for minimum fuel milligrams to lower. Yeah, because he's right. On 60 pounds, you shouldn't be running into the bottom end cap. If you're running like 110s or something, that's whenever you start seeing some issues. Generally on LLS1 heads and cams, do you have to add spark overspeed and underspeed? No. Recommendation on electric fans. Dual 14s don't seem to pull enough. Are you running a 2-core or 3-core, Brandon? Dual 14 should be moving enough. The question is whether or not your radiator is it a single pass or a dual pass? Does it go wah, or does it go S? You know, is it C or S? Was it 2-core? Might need to go to a, you know, one that's got another pass in it. Yeah. Water may just not be spending enough time in the radiator to cool off. How would you smooth the lower ends of the VE table around 800, 1200 RPMs? It seems like my VE table jumps way too much in this area, but my data log shows that I'm close to my commanded lambda. So that area, Raptor, try and get close, then just go back to closed loop. Smooth it out, you know, get it realistic. Literally focus on just kind of the cells where you're at, where you're idling. You should only be touching 3-4 cells at the most. Use that as a base point, smooth out around that. Then whenever you go back to closed loop, everything else is good after that. There's so many variables that can happen at idle. Idle is probably the hardest thing to actually tune, because the more mods that we do, cam stuff like that, really changes the way the air moves through the engine. So James, I'm showing you've already got a ticket, brother. You're good. You're in it. So, you know, if you're getting, you know, that area within a 2-3% plus or minus, then you can just go back into closed loop whenever you're done. Don't like obsess on some of those areas like that. You know, that's one of the worst things that we can do. And trust me, I'm one of the worst ones, because I'm very obsessive whenever it comes to this stuff. Soul Music, !Raffle. What everybody else is typing in, it'll get you a ticket. Yeah, exactly. One of my favorites. It's so comfortable. So comfortable. How far would you push an LS3 with stock bottom end? Jeff, did you see that guy that did the max effort LS3 that just set the record the other day, running in the 8s on a stock bottom end in A? You're going to be limited, you know, by things like rain gap. That's probably what's going to get you. Working on tuning a stage 3 NA cam headers, catless X pipe 09 Corvette LS3. Do I need the rear O2 sensors with the cats gone? No, Helly Bob, just make sure that you delete them from the tune before you unhook them. You may have to hook them back up to clear the DTCs. If you unhook them before that, you'll get permanent DTCs. Not that it's really a big ordeal on that one. Just take the rings out, Joe Simpson says. Joe, we were talking about you earlier, man. We're going to try and get you in next week. I just had quite the week after having to go down to Texas this week, and keep your eyes peeled for an invite for next Thursday. We'll get you on the live stream. What's the suspension you're running on your truck? Well, I've got QA1 coilovers on the front and QA1 coilovers on the rear with a 4-link. E38 Gen 4, trying to finally do the VVE. Am I crazy, or should it not be in steady air state when I have everything that I can see? Even after watching. No, Jerry Ridge, you don't want to be in high speed. D1X is fine as long as you don't get too crazy. Don't pulley down too much. Yeah, as InTune LS says on an LS2, ran 14 to 16. Stripped down bearings are fine, but was using E85, which would definitely help with the cylinder temperatures, which would also help with not butting rings together. Yeah, man. Joe, I literally realized I hadn't posted a video in like over 2 weeks and like had to scramble to throw one together. And then, as I was saying earlier, I tweaked my back working on the Nova, getting the axle in. Progress update on the Smoke Monster. Well, I haven't checked anything off the list. As I said, the axle housing, the 9-inch axle housing is in. Waiting on the guts for it. I've got to remount the rear shocks because they're not going to work with the 9-inch axle housing. And then I've started doing the seat mounts. So basically the rocker bars and then some smaller bars that go over to the trans tunnel will be welded in there. Other than that, you know, was gone from last Tuesday until basically this Tuesday. So was gone a full week. So I really haven't gotten anything done. You're going to probably be getting pretty close to the limit there, Jeff. Pulled my piston and check ring gap and it's already 28 on a 300 mile 6. Stuck cam it, so there's been pretty good, no smoke or knock. What up, Wallace? Good to see you, brother. So even with the same transient, my histogram should be correct. Yeah, Jerry, double check. Make sure that you're... I mean, the big thing is make sure that your mass airflow sensor has failed and that you're getting the DTC for that. So, if you're not getting a check engine light for the mass airflow sensor being failed, it may be messing with you. £10 on 28. You'll probably be all right. What up, 325? Good to see you, man. Just watch your intake temps, man. Watch your IATs. G8 GT heads, cams, going LSA. Should I get rid of the MAF? I mean, I wouldn't. I personally like tuning the MAF more than I do volumetric efficiency. Oh, there you go. That's interesting. N2LS says he zeroes the MAF table out going SD so you know if it's still in play. I like that. I like that. As long as, Jerry, as long as the MAF is showing 103, you're good to go. Are you sure you want to ask that super slow, figuring I would literally rip the axle out of my 4-link brackets on the Super Auto? I've got a Lincoln 220 MIG welder. I don't remember which one. 165 maybe. I will tell you this much. Make sure you have full 360-degree wrap on your axle with your brackets, though. That's what bit me. And I knew better. I knew better. I literally told Justin while we were sitting in the staging lanes, I was like, dude, I'm afraid this thing's going to tear the axle out of the back end. It's like at least I should have gone in there and built some brackets because that thing was like 3/4 going around the back side of the axle, and I should have done some to go around the front to beef it up. E40 ECM having issues with cold starts above 70 degrees. It'll start right, then it'll die instantly 5-6 times. The next time it'll start up and run fine. So you're not getting enough fuel until the 5th or 6th time. You might be getting some pulling in there. Biker boy, you need to check your cranking VE table and then go over to your fuel tab and look. There will be some ECT-based stuff. Upper right-hand corner, generally, of the first tab. What's the engine torque number in the VCM? Is that just a calculation? Yes. It is a calculation, but it is a calculation based off of the air mass, Jim. So if your Mass airflow and your volumetric efficiency is dialed in appropriately, it is a fairly accurate calculation of torque. So, given everything that you can monitor with these motors, you can calculate the torque and the load accurately. But as I said, if the air mass is not being calculated properly, that number will be all kinds of skewed, because I can make a 500 horsepower car look like it's making over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. Fun. Terminator X Max gauges on the laptop aren't working when connected. Laptop or something else I'm missing. I can't answer that for you, fun. I'll be honest with you, whenever I'm connected up with a laptop, it seems like 9 out of 10 times that thing just disconnects me. And it's been a lot worse since version 2 came out. Didn't happen nearly as bad on version 1, where it just randomly disconnects. It's been frustrating whenever going into trying to log and stuff. '27 Whipple Silverado. If I pull up my 1 bar and replace it with 3 bar, I want to use the old 1 bar to break out the barrow. Yep. Oh, what is the correct wiring, Joshua? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's should be some documentation out there for the wiring on the MAF sensor to figure out which you'll have to grab power off of it. Check out D-Steck, though. I think he has a breakout harness that you can just buy from him. I think that's what I did on mine. Max boost on L8353 with piston rod setup, no crankshaft. I'm running around 26 PSI on mine. You have to remember, though, I have a lower compression ratio. Not running stock compression on mine. No problem, Jeff. Thanks, man. Yeah, super slow. I don't know that you'd probably get the penetration on the 110. Hey, Jared. Good to see you. TJ's here, ripping out one of his catastrophic destruction projects he's been doing. Jerry Ridge, what do the virtual torque tables on the Gen 4 do on the Gen 4 LS? It's a good question. I wish I knew. Dirtfloor, I don't know that you need V2 if you're not running the DI controller. I don't know that it does anything else, really. The problem with really preheating the metal on axle tubes, though, is the axle tubes will warp. So you've got to basically blast a small section, let it cool down so it doesn't warp the tube out, move side to side, spread it out a lot. You haven't had any issues, James, with V2 disconnecting while you're logging? I tried TIGging today. I cannot do it. I can't, because of my trimmers, I can't use 2 separate hands. Yeah. Honestly, that's probably the way that you should do it is jig it up and bracket the ends of the axle housings up to keep it straight. But, I mean, this is goat rope garage, not professional garage. Okay. Drawing. I don't know. Drawing says it's still got 5.5 minutes left on it. I can MIG fine because I can use both hands to hold the gun. I can't TIG because you've got to feed wire with one hand and hold the torch with the other hand. I just can't do that. I welded mine up with the axles, with the axle assembled, hoping that might help to keep things straight. Man, I ain't going to practice, Jerry. I got Justin to do that stuff. I literally, Jerry, I physically can't because of my tremors. You know, if I drank a 6-pack of beer or something, I might be able to do some because my tremors would smoothen out enough, but I can't hold anything. Anytime I try to do something that requires precision, they give me quite a few issues. I can TIG like nobody's business, though. I was really proud of myself on the brackets that I welded on for the axle for the shock mounts because they looked as good as the TIG weld or the MIG welds that they used to assemble it. Jerry, a good question. At what point do you call the VVE good? Focus down low. Focus down low. Focus idle below 2,000 RPMs. Get that as close as possible. Above that, just get it safely rich. You know, if I can get it 3, 4, 5% rich on the top side, that's fine. Because whenever you go back over to dynamic airflow, the mass airflow is going to take over on the top end. Nah, James, I've had them since I was 12, so I was not drinking back then. Okay, let's see here. Let's pick a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Josh, you still here, brother? Josh Huoa Bisky. The O2s are wrong. There he is. Okay, Josh, shoot me an email through the website, goatropegarage.com. Shoot me your address, and I will send you a coffee mug. Yeah, dirt floor, I kind of got excited about the Holley IO expander at the same time, but I was not happy to see that it's the same ordeal where it's doesn't have... I'd like to have analog outputs available on a Holley. So... Joe says the AMS 2000 is the best standalone boost controller, but it's not cheap. I haven't looked at boost controllers well, it's been so long since I've had a turbo car, so you just got to keep on coming back, James. You'll win eventually. You want a sticker too, Josh? You can have a sticker too. Just remind me to throw a sticker in the box whenever you send me an email. No, you can't have a front window banner. I don't even have a front window banner. Okay. It is that time. Andrew, let me know when you're ready to supercharge the 6L. I'll come over and help. I need a reason to come to Australia. Yes, you have, TJ. I've sent you stuff. I know you've won stuff. Thank you, everybody. Glad to be back. And as always, thanks for stopping in on Thursday night. Joe, I'll be hitting you up next couple days. We'll get you set up for next Thursday. Come on live. So I'll let everybody pick a true tuner's brain. Joe Simpson. Get your questions ready for Joe. He's going to answer them all. I might have to get some of my questions. I need to go out. If you haven't seen Joe's latest video, he's got one out for doing acceleration enrichment on Holley platforms. Go check it out on his YouTube. I need to go watch it myself. Always down to learn something new. But for now, we're going to wrap it up. You guys know the deal. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.